Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to There Is an Angel for That. If this message has found you, you know what? I truly believe that your angels have just gently guided you here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to just jump right on in to what I wanted to talk about this week. And that's because for the last few days, I have heard from a lot of people that they have mentioned seeing the number 333 repeatedly. I heard some people say they saw it on the clock as a time, like 333. Somebody saw it on a receipt for 333. And some of you just said it just randomly appeared for them throughout their day. So I felt strongly guided to talk about the deeper meaning of this number, because in my opinion, the number 3 is actually one of the most spiritually significant numbers that we can encounter. Now, in numerology, the number 3 represents creation. It's about expression. It's about expansion. It's the number connected like to creativity, to communication, again, that inspiration and sharing our gift with the world. So if we think about the numbers from a symbolic perspective, you often hear like the number 1 talking about, that new spark, the new beginnings. The 2 could have a lot to do with relationships or divine timing. And then we get to that beautiful number little 3, which usually represents creation. It's the moment when something new is born. And that's why the energy of the number 3, I always feels like it carries that sense of movement and growth and possibility. Okay, but before we go any further, it's also helpful to understand that there is a difference between numerology and angel numbers. Okay, so numerology, how can I describe that the best way for you? I really feel like it's this ancient study of numbers. There's symbolic meanings. They all carry this energetic vibration. And I really feel like in numerology, it looks at how the numbers can influence cycles. It could be a personality trait. It could be patterns even within our lives. And then on the other hand, we have our angel numbers, okay? And they usually refer to what I say is those repeat numbers that people notice and they talk about. I keep seeing 333, 555, 999, right? In their usually everyday environment. Or again, those could be on clocks or license plates or receipts or anywhere else. Now, many people do believe that these repeat numbers itself can just be that little reminder or little nudges from our spiritual realm. And oftentimes they're just encouraging us to pay attention to something that might be unfolding in our lives. Now, both perspectives can exist together, and often the meaning of the number itself is kind of what gives you that deeper insight. But the significance of the 3, I really feel it goes much deeper than numerology. And why I say that is because across many spiritual traditions, 3 is considered a sacred number. One of the most well-known examples of this is the Divine Trinity. So in Christianity, you usually see it as the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, right? So 3 expressions of divine presence working together in that perfect harmony. So even when we see the symbolism of the 3, it can also be in things like nature. And the reason why I say that is because where we are recording now, I have St. Patrick's Day that's coming up next weekend. And I really feel like a lot of us are going to start to see that familiar little 3-leaf clover, also known as the shamrock. We'll probably see it on social media or, restaurants, anywhere. You'll start to see this 3-leaf clover come up. Now, traditionally, it is said that St. Patrick used the 3 leaves of the shamrock to explain the concept of the Trinity, the 3 parts, yet one unified whole. So each leaf represented what I said earlier, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that was helping people understand the idea of divine unity. But even beyond the teaching, the shamrock has long been seen, I really feel like it's that symbol of faith, hope, harmony, which again, it reflects that beautiful balance that's represented by the number 3. So even in something as simple as a clover growing in a field, this is where we see this sacred pattern of 3 showing up again and again and again. But the Trinity concept appears in many different forms throughout spiritual teachings. For example, we see it reflected in the idea of body, mind, and spirit. When these 3 aspects of ourselves are in balance, we experience that sense of alignment and wholeness. And we also see the pattern of the 3 in time itself, right? You have your past, your present, and your future. And then when it goes for things like storytelling, what do you have? You have 3 acts. Folklore has 3 wishes. And then you also have mythology, right? They have 3 trials. So the number 3 represents that kind of sacred completedness. It's that moment when something becomes fully formed. Okay. Now, when we see the number 333, the energy of the 3, I always say that's amplified. So for repeating numbers, that 333, it's magnifying the vibration of the original number of 3. So the 333 carries that powerful message of spiritual support, expansion, and encouragement. And many people associate this number with the presence of ascended masters or spiritual teachers. But it can also simply just mean that you are strongly supported by the spiritual realm. I always say it's just that little nudge from the universe saying, hey, you know what? You're not alone. You're here. You're being guided. And very often people begin seeing the 333 when they are being encouraged, to step forward in some way. I really feel like he could show up when someone is beginning to trust their intuition more, or they want to share their voice, or maybe they want to move in a new level of personal or even spiritual growth. So the message of 333, it's rarely for me a warning. It's much more about encouragement and expansion. And another interesting layer to this is timing. And the reason why I say that, and I kept this out as a reminder to say it when we did it, I have my void moon calendar here, because just a few days ago, we had our total lunar eclipse, which occurred on March 3rd at, for me, because I'm on Pacific time, 3:33 in the morning. So whether you're someone who follows cosmic timing or not, I really feel like this is a strong concentration of that 3 energy, right? We have it, when you think about it, it's the 3rd month of the year, it's the 3rd day of the month, and where it happened in my time zone, it happened to be at 3:33 a.m. So in numerology, when a number repeats like that, its energetic influence becomes magnified. So really, guys, I don't feel like it's surprising that a lot of people have been noticing number 333, especially around this time. The energy, it's inviting us to step into that creative expression. Things like communication, it's asking us to grow. It's an invitation to expand to that next version of ourselves. And one final layer that I want to mention is we had the 333, but I also want to talk about 33, like the 33, because in numerology, that 33, it is considered a master number, and it's often referred to the vibration of the master teacher. It carries themes of compassion, wisdom, guiding others. So when that number appears as 333, I know a lot of people interpret that as that kind of spiritual encouragement to share your wisdom, to support others, right? To step more fully into your purpose. And for many of you in this community who are learning to trust your intuition and to deepen your spiritual awareness, that appearance of the 333 can just be that beautiful reminder that you are supported as you grow. I really feel like it's a sign that you are not walking this path alone. And sometimes these repeating numbers, they can just simply appear as a gentle reassurance. It's just that little whisper that says, hey, keep going. You know what? You're on the right path. Okay. And of course, like all signs and symbols, the meaning of something like this number can sometimes resonate differently for other people. So, what I would say to you is please use your intuition and your life circumstances and always shape how the message speaks to you. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm saying. How does it speak to you? So, if this number has been appearing in your life lately, you might just want to simply take that moment. You might want to pause and just ask yourself, where in your life are you currently expanding, or what in your life is asking for your attention? Because sometimes the message is less about the number itself and more about that awareness that it brings. All right. So, with all of this in mind, I do want to take a moment and I want to see what kind of guidance that our angels might have for us this week. And today I'm going to be using some different cards. I'm actually going to be pulling a card or message just to see the energy for the week from messages from your animal and spirit guide deck. Okay. And I'm going to use this deck because when my dog was walking past my cart where I have all my card decks on, this deck actually fell out and landed on the floor. So I really feel like it's a sign and symbol that this was the deck that was meant to be used today. Now, I love working with this deck because animals, they have always, for me, carried a very symbolic meaning, and especially in spiritual traditions, and that has gone on for thousands of years. They often show up as powerful messengers and signs from the spiritual realm. So just like that repeating number, like your 333, animal symbols can sometimes appear at exactly the right moment to help us see something from a new perspective. All right. So let's go ahead and let's take a look to see what message is coming forward for us today. So I'm just going to take the cards out. It has beautiful imagery all over here. And I'm going to knock. And guess what? I always, speaking of 333s, knock 3 times to clear the energy out of my cards before I call Archangel Michael in. So there's another example of how the 333 shows up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shuffle and let's see what guidance comes through for us this week. Let's turn over the top card. All right. So, super beautiful card. We have the Condor card, and I'll hold it up here and hopefully you can see this. Now, I love it, and I'll actually read what's on here because it might be hard for you to see it. It says, you're too enmeshed in the situation, so step back and see the bigger picture before making any decisions or taking action. Okay. And I really feel like that's fascinating message because this bird here, when you think about it, it flies really incredibly high in the sky. So spiritually, the condor represents the ability to rise above what's been happening in your life, and so that you can see things from a much higher perspective. So instead of getting caught in the small details or, worries of the everyday life, the condor energy invites us to step back and to recognize that something bigger might be unfolding. All right. So sometimes when you're in that middle of that situation, it's easy to feel uncertain about where things are going, especially right now with so much of energy going on in the world. But what this card here, it's saying, it's reminding us that when we lift our awareness just a little higher, we can often see the path is already forming in ways that we could not see before. Right. So this message actually connects beautifully what we just talked about with the number 333, right? Especially because a lot of you have been noticing it lately. They both carry that energy of spiritual support and expansion. It's like the universe is gently reminding you, you are not navigating this alone. Guidance is available, even when the next step isn't fully clear. So the energy from this here is it's encouraging you to trust the bigger picture, stay open to new perspectives, allow your awareness to rise above fear or doubt. That's the biggest message I'm getting from these cards and from the angels. Because sometimes the message isn't about doing something immediately. Sometimes the message is simply to take a step back, breathe, look at your life, from that higher vantage point. And when we do that, we often begin to notice signs and symbols, little what I call angel winks appearing along the way. Okay. So I really hope that this was helpful for you. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for spending your time and your energy with me today. I really hope the message about threes or 333s just really helped you out. And same with the card, Condor. It has given you something meaningful to reflect on as you move forward through this week's energy. And just remember, signs and symbols can appear in many, many different ways. It could be through repeat numbers, through animals, through feathers, or there's little moments that seem to catch your attention at just the right time. And sometimes they're just a simple, gentle reminders that you're supported, you're guided, and that you just truly never walk this path alone. So if you have been noticing 333 or other interesting signs lately, as always, I would love, love, love to hear about them. So please feel free to share in the comments below. And also please remember to like and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss next week's messages. So until next time, please keep your heart open, trust your intuition, and remember, guidance often arrives in the most unexpected ways. And I always want you to remember, no matter what your situation is, there is an angel for that. So angel blessings to you all, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.